Good evening, everybody.
You want me to let these people in, Tim? I'll let people in that I see.
Cool. Yeah, we got a good group registered for tonight. 30 something folks last I looked. Let's give it a minute and then we'll kick everything off.
I heard that Tajir was giving everybody a free bottle of sauce tonight.
Oh, yeah?
That's
That'll
what I
be cool.
heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I hope he comes and joins soon.
How are you, man? I saw you on here. I just wanted to be sure you were listening.
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. I'm happy to see y'all.
Good to see you. We can't see you, but
Yes, I'm coming. I'm coming.
All right. Well, it's 6:02. I say we go ahead and get started. Respect everybody for being online and prompt. So it's great to see you all. Thank you for joining us. This is Pitch Perfect. So for those of you that have been here before, we'll talk about some of the same stuff, but it's cool because it varies from class to class. So you'll pick up some stuff that you heard before, some new stuff that just comes out during the discussion, and we'll have a good time with it. This is designed to be a no threat environment. No one is too good. Everyone is good enough to be here. So as soon as you entered into this room here, your egos were automatically taken away from you. So we're all on a level playing field. So with that, we're going to break down tonight into two different segments, and it's the elements of the pitch. And then if anybody wants to practice their pitch, if you have questions, if you want feedback on your pitch, that's what the second hour is designed for. And if you guys just want to go and watch, get ready for football tonight, then we can do that too. But that's what it's all about. Little bit about myself before we get started, so you know who you're listening to and why you should even listen to anything that I'm saying. My name is Tim Ryan. Been part of Start Peninsula since the very beginning, when we first started back in 2012, I believe. It's been fun and watching a lot of companies succeed. During that time frame, I have gone on to start a business incubator. I have worked with hundreds of founders. I'm the executive director of Start Wheel, which is an organization here in Hampton Roads to consolidate, coordinate, and celebrate the entrepreneurial efforts taking place across the region. So do get plugged in with Start Wheel. And I guess about almost 3 years ago, I started angel investing as well. So during that, I have invested in 30 companies, give or take, ranging from previous Start Peninsula companies to SpaceX and everywhere in between. So do what I can to help build the region. But really, I share that with you, not because I'm trying to sound cool, but because I want you to all understand that I understand what it takes to validate a company, what you're doing here tonight, what it takes to get going, and then I can evaluate and listen to everything from a point of view from an investor, because I know what it's like to write some checks. I know what it's like to lose money, and want to help you all with your journey as much as possible. And I'm joined with Gary Plaag. And I'll let Gary introduce himself.
yeah, thanks, Tim. Hi, everybody. My name is Gary, and I have been helping Tim since about 2016 with Start Peninsula things. And my background is that I am a presentation and communication skills coach. So I work with people in individuals and organizations, helping people to be able to tell their story to other people. And my business is about 25 years old. And I really enjoy working with Tim, helping entrepreneurs to get better and get their story out. Because when I started my company in 1998, there was no help. It was kind of like the wild, wild west. And so I've learned a lot of things without having any help. And I know that if I can help with what I've learned, that maybe some of you all won't have to go through the pain and the discovery process that I've gone through, and even that Tim's probably gone through. So I look at things from a, how does it feel? Is your story being clearly told? Is the audience going to understand it? Those kinds of things. So that's the strength and the skill that I bring to Start Peninsula. So I'm happy to help. And again, Tim and I have worked together for many, many years now. So I'm eager to hear what you all have to say at the end. And I'm the guy who, when nobody wants to give it a try at the end, I have this secret skill of being able to get people to try to do it. So you might want to just plan that I'm going to poke at you and get you to take your armor off and give your pitch a try. So, Tim, back to you.
Yeah, you definitely have that ability. I don't know how you do it, but I look forward to watching that all take place tonight. But in all seriousness, everybody, between Gary and I, having the business side and the presentation side, we really have crafted some really great pitches. And it's fun to watch the transition take place. You have to lean into the discomfort. You need to just put yourself out there, and we'll continue to make it better. But at the end of the day, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So do please try to lean in, and we'll see what we can create. With that, this is interesting because so this Pitch Perfect is designed for those people that are going to be participating in the October 12th micro pitch. So for those people that have already applied and all that good stuff, congratulations. This is a big first step forward to come to Pitch Perfect. So you're here, you've applied, but this is the first time ever that all the pitching slots have been sold out before having a Pitch Perfect leading up to the actual event. So all 10 slots are sold out. We've taken on a couple alternates to make sure that we don't want any slots to go unused. So again, this is in preparation for the October 12th micro pitch that's going to take place on Zoom. And so by you being here tonight, and if you're one of the 10 that pitch, then your pitch ticket will be refunded back to you. So that's new for this year. Not before. At one point a few years ago, it used to cost $100 to pitch, and now we've dropped it down to nothing. So at the end of the day, it was never part of our business model to try to make money from people pitching. The only thing we wanted to make sure is that people showed up, because since we do sell out every competition, we wanted to make sure that every position was filled. We didn't want to deny people from being able to pitch and then people not show up. And then that doesn't allow someone who really wants to make their business successful, doesn't give them the opportunity to do it. So that's why we refund after, so that you still have some skin in the game, make sure everybody shows up. Because at the end of the day, we just want everyone to succeed and have a successful business. So all of that said, let's get started. So as I mentioned, this is for the 3-minute pitch. The reason that we pick 3 minutes is because typically, more times than not, that is a pretty standard pitch length. This is not designed to be a pitch to investors when you sit down. Typically, that's a longer type of meeting, and even then, the pitch is probably at like 6, 7, 8 minutes at the most. But in terms of like the first pitch out of the gate, 3 minutes is pretty common. That is why we picked it. So we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock, and let's get to it. And for those that were participating before or have watched before, we do have a panel of judges. We'll have that on the Start Peninsula website. The judges that we choose, they're all people that are investors, have invested, have written checks. We do a lot of, we put a lot of preparation to make sure we pick the judges, just because that's when people don't advance to the next round, that's always the judge's fault. It's never the founder's fault. So we make sure that we get the best quality judges that we possibly can. And they also have great networks as well, so you can leverage them. But you will avoid this from happening, because historically speaking, I mean, it's almost like clockwork. 7 out of the 10 people that go, that are in the finals, they've all gone through Pitch Perfect. And then of the 3 winners that participate in November, 2 of those 3 always have gone through Pitch Perfect. It is just, I'm telling you, it is night and day. You will be able to tell who went through Pitch Perfect when you tune in on October 12th. I mean, there is just no question, because we're going to make sure that you finish on time. We're going to make sure that you say the things that you need to say. We're going to make sure that your performance is spot on, and maximize everything that needs to be maximized to have a great performance. I mean, it's just, we're going to hit all that stuff. So part of the reason that you can tell who has gone through this is because when we break down what 3 minutes looks like, I mean, this is just like the whole adage of eating that elephant. How do you do it? It's just one chunk, one bite at a time. So what, right out of the gate, we talk about that attention getter. Yeah, you take 10 seconds to get someone's attention. It can be a stat, it can be a quote, it can be just anything other than a question, anything other than your name. And we'll get into all this, but Gary's got some great examples that he can share. And I want to make sure that everyone understands, this is not like baking in terms of exact science. If it takes 5 seconds, if it takes 12 seconds, this is just to give you a roundabout idea, just in terms of how 3 minutes is broken down. So you don't need to just come up with filler words because you feel like you have to come up with a 10-second attention getter or opening. But the next thing you're going to talk about is the problem or the opportunity. Take 50 seconds to talk about that. I will warn you all that those that don't go through Pitch Perfect, they will talk about the problem for 2 minutes, and then they'll skim over their solution and maybe get to their market. And they miss the things that need to be said. So don't go too deep on the problem. We're talking 50 seconds there. Talk about your solution for 50 seconds. The big thing, especially the technical people that are in the room, don't go too deep in terms of the technical jargon. You have to, we'll talk about all this stuff, but it's got to pass the mom test. Everybody needs to understand the smartest people in the world all talk when they're communicating. They talk at a 4th and 5th grade reading level because everyone needs to understand it. Everybody needs to remember it. And this is part of a story. So this easier, the simpler, and the more story related, the better off you're going to be. Then now you have everyone's attention. You have people know what the problem is. They know what the solution is. They're like, wow, the whole idea is you want them to want more. This is the movie trailer for you. You want to get them to buy a ticket to the movie theater to watch your movie. In this case, you want that follow-on meeting so that you can have the longer investment pitch with an investor or a business partner or a customer or whatever the case is. Now is the time for your name because you've given them a reason to want to know who you are and what your name is. Then you can talk about your target market. You have 50 seconds to talk about that. And we're going to get into all this stuff in more detail. And then you have your closing, which this is loose, 10 seconds for that. It can be shorter, but some things that people include with their closing is what you need to become successful. So if you need a marketing person, a software developer, what is it that you need to be successful? And again, you want to make them want more. This is that movie trailer for you. But when it's all said and done, that's 3 minutes. So as you're sitting here listening to all of this, if you have your tablet, you have a pen and paper, whatever the case is, start thinking about this, how you break everything down, and just start writing out sentences. The problem I'm trying to solve is, the reason that this is a problem is, I am going to solve this solution by doing, my name is Tim Ryan. I am an angel investor. The target market that I'm addressing is, and just start writing out sentences. This is the basic outline. I mean, you cannot do this wrong. And then once we're done and Gary starts pressuring you all to practice in that second hour, just read that piece of paper out loud, and you'll be amazed that when people are done, we'll ask, hey, how long do you think that was? And they'll be like, 2.5 minutes. I'm not sure. And in some cases, it's like 4.5, 5, 6 minutes. You don't realize how fast time goes, but you only can say so many words per minute, and you can't just rush through those words. Anything you want to add before I dive in with the next slide, Gary?
Yeah. For everybody, just think about when you're, I know this first time you're putting stuff together, that it's going to be rough and everything. I get it. When you're aiming for the pitch event next week, the place that we see people lose the most time is that they lose time in between in the transitions. They'll lose 2 or 3 seconds here and 3 or 4 or 5 seconds there. And every time they have a change of slides, they're losing time. So by the end of their pitch, Tim calls time on them because it's been 3 minutes and they lost a half a minute in all the pauses. So know that you want to have this so tight that it's not rushed. It's kind of like the Goldilocks effect. It's not too tight and it's not too loose. It's just right. It's not like you're racing through it, and it's not like you're taking a break every 3 seconds. It's an art piece, and it just takes time. As like Tim said, it's not like baking. It's not an exact science. That this is more like cooking, which is an art, more than baking, which is a science. So know that you lose a lot of time in the transitions. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and then you should be going over these slides so much that during these transitions, you should already know what slide is next. So for some reason, if the slide doesn't transition right, or if you're fumbling on your slides, your soundtrack can continue to keep on going without losing any time. And you should just be an autopilot at that point, that you can try to get your slides on track, but your voice soundtrack continues to go as normal. Don't draw attention to yourself that, oh, the slides aren't working, or whatever the case is. I mean, this is, again, practice. But we'll get into all this, but Gary is correct. All right, let's break this down. So like the way that these slides, we break these things down is the problem, the solution, the market. So everything kind of follows along the lines. And then from a judging rubric standpoint, what the judges are going to be judging on October 12th is the problem, the solution, the market, and then your overall pitch performance. So by being here tonight, that fourth category, you're going to do, that already is a huge leg up. But there's just no secrets for people. We want to make, you're going to need this information no matter where you go, who you pitch to. Everything comes down to problem, solution, and your market. Those are the 3 basic fundamental things that you need to focus on as you prepare for something like Start or to validate your business idea. All right. So we're touching on the idea and the innovation of what it is that you are doing. So this is something that we see just overarching, happens all the time, is what is the problem? But keeping in mind the judges, this is 9 times out of 10, this is the first time the judges are going to even see you or hear what this idea is. So you have to pull everything way back, super high level. And again, this is where that performance goes into play, because if you get really technical, you get really deep into what it is that you're trying to do, you're losing people. And now they're spending their mind trying to figure out where they're just trying to figure out where they need to be, as opposed to listening to what you're saying and listening to what the story is. So, and I've mentioned stories several times, and the reason being is because people are visual learners. And if they can visualize a story or a use case in terms of how somebody is, why they're using the product, why they need the product, why you're doing the product, those are all 3 ways that visually they're following along with your story, as opposed to saying, hey, good evening, everybody. Let me introduce you to the XYZ 5000 Super Plus Pro that's got X and Y and Z, and this is why it's so much better. And you're like, what are you even talking about? I mean, it's just so difficult. So the judges don't know who you are. Don't get too deep. This is a story. The problem needs to be big enough. So what I mean by that is, like, what is your total addressable market? Is this a problem that is faced by enough people? If it's hot sauce, how many people use hot sauce? I mean, so what we want to make sure that you don't do is you're pitching an idea where you're selling violin string oil. I mean, there's just only so many ounces that one would probably be able to sell. So that total addressable market is much, much smaller than some of the other things. So is your problem big enough? And then explaining that. And then how do you differentiate yourself? How is your idea? How are you innovating? How are you changing the game, disrupting the status quo? Those are all things. So like when I say, when you're writing your piece of paper down, these are questions that you should be asking yourself. And that said, how much better is your solution? So that's just as a little variant of how do you differentiate yourself? How much better is your solution? The thing about it is you can do this in a way that you don't discredit your competition. A lot of people will spend more time talking about their competition than they do talking about themselves. And it's just wasting valuable time, for one, and two, often it's a negative slant, and it's just not needed, and it brings up additional questions from the judges. So initial things to consider there. The next thing is in terms of how much better your solution is, I want you to think 10x. So there's the 10x rule of, if you want to change somebody's behavior, then it needs to be 10 times better than what someone is currently doing. So on the fly thinking here, so before you go to a networking thing, you have business cards, you hand someone your business card, and then it's like, then what do? You get home, maybe you write them an email, maybe you try to find them on LinkedIn, whatever the case is. So maybe that 10x solution is you pull out LinkedIn, you open up your QR code, you read each other's QR code on LinkedIn, and then you're automatically connected with one another. Maybe that's 10 times better than what going through the whole business card rigmarole. And so that's something that is better. Whatever the case is, you want to think about that and why that is so.
Can I make a comment, Tim?
Yep.
So one thing that we find is that people have a great solution looking for a problem because they never identified what the problem really was. And it was never big. It was never, what's the pain point of this problem? What causes people to have a visceral reaction to having to either do this thing or experience this thing, whatever. So you want to make sure that you have a problem that really needs a solution instead of a great solution that doesn't even have a problem. And that goes back to what Tim said, is the problem big enough even? I have a great solution, but no one's really worried about this problem. So why am I solving it? It doesn't make sense. And if the judges and the audience start wondering that, then that's problematic. And when you're identifying the problem, sometimes your attention getter can be something that is a scenario where you're talking about where you're asking the audience to imagine this scenario where this pain point occurs, and what would someone do with that pain point? And then you have now identified, then you're going to identify what this problem is, and then we move on to the solution. So this product idea and innovation, what is the problem? When you're doing that, you can use that in your attention getter at the beginning. We can discuss that more later too. So
yeah, and so quickly, as I mentioned, we spend a lot of time with the judges, and judges that have experience with angel investing, have experience in writing checks. The mentality behind angel investing, for those that don't know, it's not to try to come up with reasons as to why the business won't work. As an angel investor, you should be thinking about, wow, what if it does work? I mean, if you look at Tesla, SpaceX, whatever the case is, the odds were so stacked against Elon Musk. He's down to his last rocket. He needed funding. And people had the mindset of, well, what if this does work? And now it is the most valuable privately owned company in the history of the world. I mean, this is just, so have that mindset of, what if it does? And, now you can really just throw yourself out there and then get people imagining with you. And that will propel you forward as well. All right. Moving on, in terms of like a lot of what I just talked about, is the team, and not thinking about reasons why something can't work and focusing on what if it does work. Well, the way that it does work is the team, because they're the ones that are going to be doing the executing. They're going to make this stuff happen. So showcase your strengths. When you're looking at the people that are on your team, why is it, what makes that team so strong? Why are you the ones to solve this problem? I mean, this is so important, and that so many people just skip over it and don't. Even if you failed a previous venture, whatever the case is, you can, the things that you learned from a previously tried business venture, or you can leverage all that stuff from strengths in terms. So if you have like the only person in the world that can do a certain task, then that's something that you want everyone to understand and know, because people bet on the horse, or people bet on the jockey, not on the horse. So it's the people within your team that the people are going to be betting on and looking at why this company is going to succeed. All right, and then we're going to get into the marketability, and some things to consider there is you need to know who your customer is, and your customer is not everybody. You need to make sure that you have your market narrowed down and continue to focus on who you're going to market to. One part of the reason for doing this is that you're able to demonstrate your understanding of the size of the market. So I had mentioned total addressable market a couple of times. So there's like, in the housing industry is X amount of trillions of dollars. Well, you're not going to go after the entire housing market for your particular company. So There might be a commercial side. There might be a residential side. So say you're going to address the residential side. Well, you're still not going to address the entire residential side either. So maybe the residential side is 3 trillion as opposed to 8 trillion. What part of that housing market are you going after? Are you going after single family homes? Are you going after ranch homes? Are you going after $200,000 homes or only multi-million dollar homes? Whatever the case is. So if you think of yourself as like a realtor, you need to understand that in order for you to start your business, you have to go after the right clientele with the right inventory that you're trying to move or sell. So you have to understand your market size, the target market, and it's really, really counterintuitive, but the smaller the focus, the better off you're going to be. It is just, I've seen more businesses that will try to be all things to all people, and then they spin around in circles. It's a miserable experience for you. It's a even more miserable experience for the customer or the client that you bring on board. So you need to, the smaller the focus. Once you think that you've got it so small that you can't narrow it down anymore, try to narrow it down again. And then once you have all your procedures that are in place and you've maximized that portion of that addressable market, then you can look to expand further. But to start off, you need to really, really look at the smaller the focus, the better. And then, how are you delighting customers? So if you do have customers, how are you delighting them? So quotes are a great way to do this. And we're not telling you that you have to read every single quote that you may put on a slide. We'll get into the slide aspect in a little bit, but people can read all that stuff on their own, that you don't have to read every single thing because that's just killing time. But if you have customers, make sure that you mention that, because that's going to be really, really important to the judges, because that shows that that you have some initial traction, that you're solving a problem and a pain point that people want solved. So make sure that you talk about that as well. And it's not a matter of you shouldn't be embarrassed, even if it's one customer or two customers. That still is a differentiator for you. All right. And to that point, I have invested in pre-revenue companies. So that is, it's customers help, but it's not always the case, depending on the type of business that you have. But again, we talked about the execution aspect of everything. How are you going to get this done? How are you going to make your business a reality? And this is another sticking point that a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of founders have, is that they think it's easy to think about why you can't do something. It's easy to think that I can't do this until I get $50 million in funding. Well, it's like, what are your major milestones? What can you get done with those milestones? Because when it comes to raising capital, it's a milestone-based business. They're not going to give you everything that you need all in one shot. You're going to have to show that, hey, for the first step, I need this. And then once you get to that point, then you'll get more. And then you complete that, and then you get more. So how are you going to make this a reality? I mentioned just a couple minutes ago how investors bet on the jockey and not the horse. And so what do I mean by that is investors invest in the people. It's not the idea. I've heard some really, really great ideas. But if you can't execute those ideas to make it a reality, then that's all it is an idea. And Gary, how much is an idea worth?
Whatever somebody will pay for it, right?
And oftentimes it's zero. So
exactly.
The big thing is, though, in terms of like why, why are you going to execute this is knowing what is your why. And that is the real driver. So the highs are high, the lows are really low in the world of entrepreneurship. So you need to understand why you're doing it. So when you're having those bad days, that why is what's going to get you out of bed in the morning. If you have a co-founder, again, that goes back to the team. Your co-founder is one of those people that is going to help you along the way. And that will help, but at the end of the day, it's what is your why? So a story that we use very often is Answers Now. They're a winner a few years ago, and they developed an app, a mobile app that can be used for parents that have children that are autistic. And what happens when you're in a store and there's a meltdown? How do you calm your child down? Well, it turned out that the founder's why is because that was his life. He is the parent of an autistic child. So that was something that he was going to solve no matter what. He was doing it for those personal reasons more than chasing after profit possibilities. And your why cannot be about profit, because I guarantee you, the first time that you have a challenge, your why is going to shift focus really, really fast. So that why needs to have a pretty deep meaning. All right. Investability. This is something that we typically will add in only because for the Q&A portion, a lot of times this will come up, and this is really just to get your mind thinking. Doesn't necessarily need to be in the pitch, but it could come up in the Q&A. So some things to consider there. Is an investment necessary? So like a real common question from judges is, what are you going to do with the money? And I think that I have that. Or why do you need the investment? So really understanding, taking a deep dive, a deep look at yourself in terms of, do I need it? Is it necessary? Why do I need the investment? And what's the money going to be used for? Having that in your back pocket is really important. It's a really in vogue thing to say that you're trying to raise money. Now more than ever, raising money is extremely difficult right now. I mean, the markets are so cold. Everyone is just trying to survive. Everyone is cutting costs. They're just trying to weather this storm. In our region, it was already difficult to raise money in a hot market. Now, when the hottest markets are cold, it makes our markets even cooler. So think about, do some soul searching and understand, what it is that you need. And it's not just, hey, I need money because I need money. If you can bootstrap.
Tim, can I jump in real quick?
Yep.
This might be a situation where, and I know we've had these in the past with people who have pitched, they need this piece of equipment. They've gotten their business to 1,000 customers, and they need this piece of equipment, which costs $25,000, because they can't support any more clients without this piece of equipment. And so they're this catch-22. I need to have more clients to be more successful, but I can't take on more clients because I need this widget that allows me to serve them and service them. So what do I do? Well, I need some money to help me do that. And those are real live things that people have. It's not just I want more money or I've not made any kind of sacrifice. I'm already leveraged to the hilt, and I need this. I need somebody to invest in this so that I can move to the next level. That could be the situation. So just as Tim is saying, think about that. It may not be part of your pitch, but it may certainly be a question that one of the judges asks.
Yeah, because some people, they look at that very end stage is where they want to be. But you got to think about incrementally, what do I need now? So you might want to open a Michelin star restaurant. Well, the chances of you getting funding to do that right off the bat is pretty much zero. But if you start off with a food truck, and then the demand is so high that you can't keep up with it, that then you slowly start moving towards bricks and mortar, that's a more viable solution. Because as Gary mentioned, if you have 1,000 customers, that changes the equation, because you're showing the demand, you show what people are looking for. And then, that could be something you'd be able to finance through debt. If you go to a bank or to someone saying, hey, we just need this money to put gas on the fire. We need more rocket fuel to launch this thing up into orbit. It's a total different equation than it is saying, hey, I got this crazy idea and I'm pretty sure that it's going to work. But again, that's just stuff to think about. And this is my world, and I can go into it all day long. But another area that people get tripped up on is what their needs are. Because everyone's alpha, everyone's they don't need any help because you're a founder, right? Well, it's not necessarily the case. First and foremost, if you don't share what you need, then people don't know how they can help you. And one of the things that I love so much about the entrepreneurial space is everybody wants to help one another succeed. So leverage your vulnerability, lean into that discomfort. And if you say that you need help with something, you'll be amazed at how many people will raise their hand and say, hey, I know I can't do it, but I know somebody. Or, yeah, I'll be happy to give you an hour or two, or whatever the case is. But unless they know how they can help you, they're not going to be able to help you. So all that said, is vulnerability is a strength and it's not a weakness. And to take that one step further, when you're looking for help, you need to be coachable, because if you have the attitude that you already know all the answers, then you don't need the help. But clearly you do, because otherwise your business would be uber successful, and you wouldn't. You just need to be vulnerable. You need to be coachable, and this is something that you need to leverage, that vulnerability as a strength. Every single micro pitch competition, somebody will not make it through. They'll get ticked off. They'll leave the Zoom session as soon as they find out they didn't advance forward. And it's just, they just hurt themselves, because this is a community where everybody wants to see everyone succeed. So leverage it. So we have all that information that needs to be included. And this is where Gary jumps in and talks about the performance side.
Yeah, and so one of the old jokes is somebody walking down the street in New York City and runs into somebody, and he says, "Hey, I need some directions." And the guy says, "Yeah, what's up?" And he says, "I need to know how to get to Carnegie Hall." And the response is, "Practice, practice, practice," because you're not going to get to play on Carnegie Hall unless you practice. So this is the truth about this whole thing is I talk to people in my business all the time who are mortified. Let's say they're terrified to have to get up in front of people and tell their story. And then once they do it, they're mortified about the results because they feel like they didn't do well. And then I asked them how they prepared, and they poured over their slide deck and worked on that stuff, but for a lot, but they never actually did the performance part of it. They never practiced that. And it's like, why didn't you practice that? Well, I was just down to the wire, and I had 6 other things to do. Okay, you need to practice the performance part. And I always call these things performances and not presentations. And I sometimes get pushback from people who will say that, well, what do you mean it's a performance? I'm just doing my presentation. So why do you call it a performance? Does that mean I have to act or something? And I say, no, you don't have to act, but you have to be you, and you have to be able to convey a message. And so it is a performance, because we can tell when you're not prepared, and we can tell when you're nervous, and we can tell when you're not sure of yourself, and those kind of things don't help you. So practice the performance part. And the way that you can do that is, cell phones are easy to do it with now. Just, if you need to do it when nobody else is in your house, set your phone up, turn it on video record, and do your pitch in front of it, and then go watch it. And you'll be self-conscious at first, but go do that 4 more times, and you'll start to see things that the audience sees, and you go, well, I want to do that differently. So use those kinds of tools. Practice it in front of a video, and then go watch the video. And even if you're not at the video stage yet, just turn on the voice recording and read through your pitch and see what it sounds like to you. And nobody else has to be there watching it. So that's part of the practice is to take the time to do that. Because if you get to the pitch and you haven't done it and haven't practiced and don't even know what you look like and sound like, you're going to freak out. And then you'll lose time because you freaked out. And believe me, Tim and I, in at least the last 7 years, have seen people freak out. In the final event, even freak out.
And the reason that we had that picture with the person,
yes,
with their hands to their face, we've seen it happen.
Yeah,
and
they just freak out.
That happen with you all.
And it's usually because they didn't prepare well and didn't practice well. Okay, so Tim mentioned this before. You don't want to start with "Hello, my name is." Oh, we'll do a question first. So don't start with a question because it wastes time. So when you say to somebody, remember how I said at the beginning that we notice these times when 2 and 3 seconds get wasted by dead space. This is a dead space issue. So if I say, how many people have ever flown on a helicopter? And I wait for 5 seconds for people to indicate that they flew on a helicopter. Well, I just lost 5 seconds. That's craziness. So don't start with a question. You can start with many other things. The second thing you don't want to start with is your name. Hello, my name is, and I'm going to talk to you about XYZ. We don't care what your name is until we have a reason to care. One, we're going to introduce you in the pitch with we're going to say, Gary Plaag from Coraggio Consulting, and go Gary. So now everybody knows my name is Gary. People can see my name on the Zoom thing, that's my name. Got it. You don't have to start with that. I would still say your name, but say it where Tim told you to say it, like after we understand what your problem and solution are. Everything that you put in your pitch either enhances it or detracts from it. So if you have something in the pitch or in your deck and you can't say that it's enhancing your story, take it out. Get rid of it. It's because it's irrelevant and it's detracting from what the impact you could make. So really, really give it that kind of scrutiny. Is it helping or is it not helping? If it doesn't do anything, if it's not enhancing or detracting, that means you can still get rid of it. You only want to have things that enhance it.
And I guess as I think about this, like again, referring to someone like Elon Musk, who's talking about an electric car, it's an electric car. He doesn't go into like the structural battery pack and the components that go into why their battery technology is so sophisticated and so advanced. It's just an electric car. So it's like, save all that time and delete all that irrelevant stuff that no one's going to understand, that you're going to lose that audience to begin with. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. I talked about this already. It's both a story and a performance. And so lean into the fact that it is a performance. It's going to have an impact on the audience. The audience you're most concerned about is the 3 judges. So know that it is in fact a performance. And the more you can turn it into a story, the more interesting it is for us to listen to.
Yep.
For every slide that you add or whatever, again, does it enhance the story? Does it detract from the story? If it's not helping, get it out, kick it out. There's a term that people who write copy have to deal with, and it's called you have to kill your darlings. And when you're a writer or a creator, you always have these darlings that you put in. You think that all of the stuff that you write is wonderful, and they call them darlings. And so the term when you have to get rid of stuff because it's not relevant or not helping is called killing your darlings. So you might have to do that on some of the stuff that you think is just great, but it doesn't add to the story. So get rid of it.
Yeah. And some bonus stuff to include with the tricks of the trade is the Q&A portion. So there is a 2-minute question and answer period. This really scares a lot of people, and it shouldn't. But I can tell you for certain, and Gary can back me on this, we have seen people get through because of the Q&A, and we have seen people not get through that on the scorecard we're going to get through based on the Q&A. So we add this Q&A, we limit it to 2 minutes very intentionally, because going right back to what Gary was talking about, does it enhance or does it detract? Only having 2 minutes to answer 3 sets of questions forces you to be very succinct. And since it's not scripted, where people benefit from that Q&A aspect is that then your real why starts to come out. Your real passion starts to come out, because you're not as scripted, but you're able to show. But so you need to think about this as like a ping pong match, and you're just volleying questions back and forth. They ask a short question, give them a short answer. Don't drone on and on and on. Like, the people that don't make it through after the Q&A is because they sold themselves out of it. They answered the question but kept on going, and then that brought up more questions than it did answer the questions that there were. So, Gary, one of the things that you always talk about is try to think of questions that scare the crap out of you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I would go back, I think on the past Pitch Perfect or the past pitch competitions, that includes the Q&A sessions for each person, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, go back and watch those past 3 pitch competitions and listen to the questions that the people are asked about their particular product or service.
And it's not stump the chump questions.
Yeah, they ask hard questions. Something else to think about if you're pitching this at this coming one, or if you're, I know there's some people who are on here who are actually going to be going on to the, they've already moved on from the micro pitch to, they're going to be pitching at the big event. And I know some of them are on this call. And the thing that we need to always remember is when you get the Q&A to the Q&A part, the judges are going to ask you 3 questions, 1 each generally. And and you get 2 minutes, and you may answer and have 45 seconds left. And then we get people who just stare at the screen. Let me tell you, that is a great opportunity for you to include some more information, because you got 45 seconds until Tim tells you that your time's up. I would go for any extra seconds that you have to convey information that you didn't have a chance to do in the pitch, or that you thought of after you finished the pitch and you went, oh, I didn't tell them that one thing. Then tell them there, if that's a possibility. Because if we're done, and if you're done with the question, answering the questions, and Tim hasn't said time yet, then you got some more time. So use it. Everything, make him cut you off.
And to that point, if you say, okay, I'm done, then I turn the timer off too. And whether if there was 1 minute and 55 seconds left or 5 seconds left, as soon as you say you're done, then we keep the program rolling. We're just not going to wait for the clock to expire.
Yeah, so always run yourself out to the clock. Use your 3 minutes for the pitch. If you get to the end and Tim hasn't said, and that's time, and you feel like you want to add one more thing, you can.
Which is why we're like, hey, if I tell them what you need to be successful, and I'm looking for a software developer, if anyone knows anyone, please see me afterwards, or message me in the direct message.
Yeah, that's your chance. So use all of the time that you get. That's a big thing that we see that doesn't happen. One other thing that I suggest, and that is when you're talking about marketability. So I read a story about people with some college students that thought they were making the better pillow, the perfect pillow. And they were only considering the perfect pillow, the attributes of the perfect pillow. They were only considering them from their college student perspective. And so somebody met with them and said, you need to go and investigate what other people think the perfect pillow has. Like, what are the characteristics of the perfect pillow? So they would go to things like, Bed Bath & Beyond and stand by the pillow section. And when people came in and were looking at pillows, they would say, hi, we're doing some research on what attributes people find helpful with pillows. And so would you mind answering a few questions? I notice you're looking at pillows. Would you mind answering a few questions for us? And most people were like, oh, sure, no problem. And they learned that the things that they thought were important as young college students were, some of them were very different when it was an older person looking for a pillow, or someone with some other kind of physical requirement for the pillow. And so they learned a whole lot more. And by the time they'd interviewed 100, 200 people who were buying pillows, they had all kinds of new information to go on. So this is another thing that you can do to help to qualify your solution. And you could tell us that in your marketability. We conducted interviews with over 300 people who all were looking for a different kind of pillow experience, and we learned that these are the three main characteristics. And we realized that the demographics of these people was anyone between 20 and 75 were looking for these major 4 attributes. Oh, okay, well that tells us you did your homework, and you actually have a viable product. So I wanted to mention that too. That's helpful.
Yeah, that's super important. So like if you don't have any customers, then that would be an area that I would plug in saying, hey, yeah, this is what we found. And then that helps determine who your target market is. But then part of those questions might be, how much, what do you think is a reasonable price to pay? And then once you find out like what the price range is that people are willing to pay, then you can plug that into your financial model to see if if that works within the model. All this stuff, it just works together, and there's so much that goes into it. I mean, it's fascinating how all this stuff plays in with one another. And we've got to just keep on working through this, which goes back to Gary's initial point. He's like, gosh, I wish I had all this help when I first started my business. And here you have tons of people that are willing to help you and want to see you succeed. So when in doubt, just ask why 5 times and just keep digging 5 layers deep as to, well, why are people saying that this? And then, okay, so why did they say that? And you'll be amazed at what you'll uncover.
Yep.
But at this point, we can open up everything to questions.
I know somebody's out there who wants to do their pitch again, perhaps. Someone who is.
I am.
Oh, good, perfect.
I'm going to. I just got to grab her real quick, and then if somebody wants to go before me, I'm going to try this thing out.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Gary, you guys. Well, so I pitched at the micro pitch event last time, number 2, and one of the things that I noticed that I wasn't ready for was that one of the judges, you can kind of tell she wasn't very familiar with like peer-to-peer renting. And so I kind of found myself in answering her question, I had to kind of explain that a little bit, which took some time away. But I guess I'm trying to figure out how I can, in 3 minutes, add that to my pitch.
Before, Gary, think on that for a second. One of the things that I wanted to mention before, practice. Every opportunity you have, practice to whoever you can talk to. With that, write down every single question that somebody asks you about your pitch. When there's a repeat question and people ask the same question multiple times, you've just identified a trend. And you need to include that into your pitch and answer that question before it is asked in the Q&A, because what's happening at that point is people are then only listening and trying to figure out the answer to their question as opposed to listening to what it is that you're saying. So when you're practicing, inventory those questions and identify those trends so that you can address those up front. So like with that, I think like I remember your pitch, and I remember I got confused because the story in the beginning, then all of a sudden it was like a hard shift for me. And it was like, we talked about military spouses that needed a ride home. And then all of a sudden, like there was just, the transition to me wasn't smooth enough because where my mind was going in the very beginning, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm following. And then all of a sudden I found myself like, whoa, we just turned someplace. I don't even know how we got to where we got, but I would need to re-listen to that pitch. But I just remember thinking that I was totally picking up what you were putting down at the very beginning. And then I found myself confused.
Okay, thanks. I didn't, so I'm not gonna pitch again tonight because that pitch didn't work out so well for me. But I did kind of just write down from what you were saying today. Just wrote down each. Okay, somebody said I was watching her pitch borrow, and I didn't see the purpose for it. So yeah, I wrote down like the sentences for each.
Yeah, because
category, I guess that you.
so as we're talking about this, it's now coming back to me because I think where people got tripped up on was like, why would I pay a monthly expense when I may only fly in and out of an airport like once every few months, kind of thing. That's where I got tripped up. I would be looking at something that I would be using like daily, weekly, multiple times a week kind of thing, and then leveraging the value that way.
That's interesting because it's free for people who travel. So what my platform does is it charges the host to, basically rent a locker for their keys to be placed at the airport safely. So the fee is for a host to place their keys in this locker. And then for the guests, it's free. The guest has peace of mind, picking up the keys safely and not having to meet in weird places and all that good stuff. So I guess.
And it's just like, it's one of those things that is like, once it happens, then all of a sudden it's like there's one judge that will like, it's like the pebble in the water, that ripple effect, and everyone jumps on board. And then it's just like, then the next thing you know, like, whoa, what just happened? Kind of thing. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, Gary, but that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I think that covers it. And I think you're getting some more comments here in the chat that may be helpful for you. Anyway.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Does that help you?
Yeah, it helped a bit. I'm just trying to figure out, I guess, how to condense, but you kind of just answered. I think I just didn't realize that, there's people that don't know what Airbnb is, I guess, or.
It could be. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I would also, the one real quick thing, I'm sorry, Gary, is that sometimes the judges are coached in terms of before they go in saying, hey, they have their rubric, they're following the rubric, they score everything from 1 to 5. But the thing that happens over and over again is like, the more the judges enjoy the pitch or envision themselves or seeing it as a reality, it's just naturally they will start asking more difficult questions because they understand what it is. They see your vision. So like they just naturally want to ask more. And so that's always a tough part of this competition is that, and we tell them this is a place to validate your business idea. Not everything is figured out just yet. And if it's not figured out, then don't be afraid to say, hey, we just haven't got there yet, but this is what we know up to this point. And they're not gonna score that against you for not knowing that.
Okay. Good stuff. Thanks, Tim and Gary.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can I ask a question?
So who wants to pitch?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know how you guys said when we were explaining our pitch, to keep it, don't use jargon and, things that people don't understand, but keep it simple. But sometimes when the judges, when they talk to you, they may use jargon that you may or may not understand. Are you allowed to ask them, maybe to explain further what they're meaning? If there's like a jargon or something, that you don't understand?
Yeah,
Yep.
why not?
Okay, perfect.
We don't start the Q&A timer until you start answering the questions. So if somebody asks you one and you go, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what that term means. Could you please explain that to me?
Perfect. Okay.
And they'll do that. And then when you're ready to answer, I'm usually the one that says, Tim will start the clock when you start talking. So does that help?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because we want to see everyone succeed. We don't want to. This is, like I said, we're not trying to stump the chump and ask difficult questions to see someone fall on their face, kind of thing.
Yeah. Who'd like to give us a try? I think somebody said earlier they wanted to.
I am 1 minute away from home, so if somebody asks one more question, I'll be at
Oh, okay.
my kids from art class. So I've been listening and I transitioned to the phone quietly. So as soon as I get in my office, I'll go ahead and give it a try.
Oh, okay. Okay. Does anybody else want to go?
Tim and Gary, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I'm just trying to figure out because I have a bad internet connection. I'm audio through the phone, and I wasn't sure if I unmute from the screen, but I guess I can.
Yep.
I'm willing to give it a try, but I have to admit I don't have my slide deck up, so it's going to be sort of a audio only here, and you get.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and we'll see what we get from it, and then we'll give you some feedback.
Great.
And whoever is, before you go, Rick, whoever is unmuted, we can hear whatever's happening in your living room. There you go. Thanks, whoever that was. Okay, Rick.
All righty, here goes. Did you realize that as politically divided as our country may seem, there is one thing that most Americans can agree on? Our government is corrupt and not working. The reason it's legal for our elected representatives to be beholden by big money interests. Luckily, every year a new crop of good candidates committed to representing their constituents decides to run for office. They quickly learn two things. One, you need a vow of loyalty to get help from a major political party. And two, it takes more than just jumping up on a stump and giving a speech. For this reason, my team has been working on a plan to provide new candidates with all the things they need to run a successful campaign, from training them in public speaking and fundraising to designing their campaign materials and building their web presence. I'm Richard Kensky, and please don't worry, no political speeches. I'm just excited to share with you today my startup business, True Rep. 3 problems created this business opportunity. 1, money and politics. It's the reason government is not working for we the people. 2, our major political parties make it incredibly hard for non-party loyalists to run. And 3, professional campaign staff. They see running against money in politics as a threat to their paychecks. Besides, they get paid even if the candidate loses. Enter the True Rep team. Picture a full staff of professionals, each with the expertise needed to run a top-notch campaign. Only candidates with tons of money to spend can actually afford such staffing unless this team was working remotely handling the needs of dozens of campaigns. What makes this possible for True Rep is that when a candidate is running to be their district spokesperson and the messaging is all about true representation and anti-corruption, Campaigning anywhere in the country is the same. You only need to switch out the name and the photo of the candidate. This allows us to use the economies of scale for everything from training to content creation, even automating social media updates and providing campaigns with the lowest prices for supplies such as signs. Speaking of money, TrueRep will be run on a subscription model. The cost of a professional campaign manager alone runs from $5,000 to $7,000 a month. For less money than candidates are already spending, we can give them full access to a dream team of experts. With up to 50% of voters now claiming no party affiliation, isn't it about time that they had the choice of either one of the party loyalists or a true rep? As you can see, this business can be set up with little risk, but the profits could be huge, not only in money, but in saving America's democracy. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for doing that. So yeah, I guess my initial feedback that I noticed right away was so like you talked about the problem, you introduced yourself, and then you started talking about the problem more. So like that, and so like we didn't hear a whole lot about the solution or necessarily who you're marketing to. So like I wanted to hear more. Like I heard helping with fundraising, public speaking, and that's when I started thinking. That's when I started focusing on where's the solution, and then is this marketing to? Are you marketing to aspiring politicians, or is your market geared towards helping people, like helping build politicians so that constituents can vote for a better person? Like, who are you marketing this to? So I guess I would like to see less time on the problem, more time on the solution, and then who you're marketing this to.
And maybe even a little bit about how it works.
And who your team
One,
is.
I was so worried, forgive me. I guess my problem is how I got to this was that I realized everything I squeezed into 5 minutes last year did not fly. So I chopped it down to 3. But the interesting thing, and I love the feedback, thank you for this, of course, isn't the problem in seeing ourselves. And that's why you say practice, 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 and ask the people. For instance, when I introduced this whole thing, I'm talking about good new candidates committing to represent the constituents. I'm setting up a team to teach these people. My team has been working on a plan to provide new candidates, especially those without major party affiliation, with all the things they need to run a successful campaign. I guess what I'm trying to figure out, Tim and Gary, is how do I define? I mean, in my mind, of course, because I work with it all the time. My customer is candidates that are trying to launch a campaign. I am just like you have a business incubator, and in fact, last year I think we went over this. I try to. My analogy was, I am to campaigns what business incubators are to businesses. I am a campaign incubator, basically, for these new candidates.
Yeah, and I think
I'm stumbling, but how do I define that customer? I said candidates.
Maybe what would be helpful is to be very, very blunt about the problem. The problem is this. My solution is this. It's a service that teaches candidates how to be effective candidates. But so instead of being very subtle about it, just hit us in the face with what it is. What's the problem? And what is the solution that you have? And what do you do in that solution?
But like going back to what I said before about asking why 5 times. So like you're like, we're there to create better candidates.
Why?
Like, you totally gloss that over. So what are those attributes? You know, you had mentioned public speaking and you had mentioned raising money, but why is that important? You know, is it because 90% of the people that don't win have never gone through any public speaking? Is it because 95% of the people that don't raise enough money because they don't understand how or who to talk to? You know, what in terms of when you talk about that business incubator, what are the different tracks that people need to go through in order to be successful? You know, just drilling down in those things. And then then you got a one slide that when you're talking about your solution, you have all the different things and you don't have to go over everything one by one, but then you got everything listed on the slide about these are the different things that we're going to go over. Because by glossing everything over that quickly, when you're like, people get paid whether if they win or lose. And by you like going over the solution so quickly, you know, somebody, you almost could lump you into that same category, that you just don't lose as much because it's a subscription base. And I'm being really, really harsh, you know, but in the reality though, that's where some people's heads are going to be. And you just, again, that's how you differentiate yourself. You know, we differentiate ourselves because we care more. You know, we want to ensure that you win, and our track record shows that you're going to win. And this is why these folks win, because we do this, and this.
Right.
There's
the interesting thing for me, and a little humor for us, is the fact that I learned so much from you guys last year, because what you do with us trying to pitch our business is what candidates have to do to win office. So I'm doing the exact same thing that you guys are doing, but I'm bumbling.
Well, you don't have to worry about me being any of your competition.
I'm much better at teaching the candidates how to pitch, because you taught me a lot of that. One thing I'll tell you, because you're on the screen here, I'm like, shut up with your name, because Tim and Gary told me never tell your name until the people want to know it. Anyhow, I wanted to share that with you. So
nice.
Shut up.
Nice. There's a couple of comments here from somebody who had to step away, and one of this suggests I'm what business incubators are for the candidates. You know, that might be a thing that, yeah. And then also whatever you said before. And there's also a question in the chat: is true rep as in true Republican?
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I find interesting, because you're muted, Rick, but you know, like other people see things that you may totally be like, no, you know, but that's certainly valid.
Yeah, so check out the chat, Rick, because there's some good comments in there for you. Tim McDaniel has a question.
Oh, hey, I wrote this rough draft script while we're on the call. It's just a baby idea, but I could say it now if that's okay.
Yeah, before you go, Dominique, are you finally in a place where you can do yours?
I am, but you know, you never want to like cut someone who wants to take the floor.
Well, I'm just trying. Chivalry is not dead. Chivalry, at least you're in the queue
tonight. Go ahead and take the floor.
You're okay. So Tim, Dominique is letting you go first.
She's yielding the floor.
So kind of you. You could have went first if you want. That's fine. Well, thank you so much. Okay.
So Tim's going to give you, he's going to time you, and then we'll let you know where you came out.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Not good enough. Time poverty. Failure. Loser. We live in a consumerism society where people are digitally addicted, stressed, and isolated. Social media shows us upward social comparisons when we compare ourselves with other people's highlight reels. People lack meaning in their lives and desperately want to help others. Spare Change is a fintech app with the slogan micro altruism for better mental health. For $2.99 a month, people can donate money to a nonprofit with minimal clicks on their phone. For $4.99 a month, the app helps people save money via roundups or recurring contributions. When you open the app, you see positive affirmations utilizing positive psychology. In the future, it could be integrated with Headspace, Meetup, or BetterHelp. Hi, I'm Tim McDaniel, and I've worked in banking and mortgage my whole life. I have a passion for helping people with their money and mental health. My family and I have struggled personally with mental health. This app is targeted to millennial men with low to moderate income, minimalist psychographics, but it could be a useful tool for many people and their families. Virginia ranks 40th in the country for mental health providers. The market needs a financial app for mental health because these two stigmatized topics are connected. Our lack of funding for mental health makes jail the new mental health hospital, which leads many people to be homeless and to suffer. We are all connected. I would use this money to develop this app and bring it to market. Sometimes buying more and bigger stuff isn't the answer to happiness. Thanks.
Cool. So the great news is you got plenty of time to work with. That was, and we timed this so people have a rough idea of what it was. That was 1:25, just under 1:25 seconds. So we got lots of time to work with. I thought the opening was strong. You certainly captured my attention. One thing though, that as you're working through this, to further demonstrate your why, and it's only if you're comfortable with it, but if you talked about your family having struggles with mental health, but if you had that opening and then you're like, these are all things that I have had to experience either firsthand or through family members, and that is the challenge of mental health and there not being a viable solution. That is why I developed this app. And then you go into it from that standpoint, it totally changes the dynamic. And I think that it adds a little bit more something. We would need to address who the market would be. Would this be for, is this a B2B play, business to business, business to consumer, in terms of like, who would the proceeds be for, or would the daily affirmations be for, or would be for the consumers, or, how is that mix played out? And then one other thing that I picked up on for everybody, and Tim, this is not geared toward you, this is, you're just out there on a whim, but again, for everyone, talk about everything in the sense of, I am going to succeed. Tim had mentioned something about this could be something to do something. We don't want to could anything. We're going to do it. And just really being, there is no question, no matter what happens, we're making this thing happen. So jump on board because we're going, kind of thing. That was my initial feedback, Gary.
And that's part of the sense of passion that we're looking for. That's the why that Tim talked about before. What is your why is what is the thing that drives you to do this? And so that what Tim Ryan said, Tim McDaniel, is that the way that he explained you might do the beginning is helpful. I felt like it was rushed a bit, obviously, and because you have extra time. And this is a kind of thing that needs a little bit of space, because it's not, I'm making a widget for finding the best Chinese restaurant in town. It's, I'm making something that's going to help people to improve their lives. And it probably needs a little bit of a dramatic space, if you will. And we can certainly work on what that is. So, I was just because it went so fast and it didn't have a place for me to catch up. And I thought the beginning was strong, lots of bang, 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 bang. And then that transition into what the problem is was hurried, and I had to try to get my feet under me to try to understand where we're going now. Does that help?
Oh, absolutely. The very rough draft. Literally
Yeah.
wrote it on the call with you guys. So
No,
thanks
that
so
was
much.
great. That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
it's a good try. Yeah, good. So I'd love to hear another one. You know, with some more meat in it, and take advantage. Again, I think you can plan in to take advantage of, at the beginning, a little bit of dramatic pause that helps us realize the gravity of it.
And one other thing that plays into your hand, Tim, really, really well, is a fundamental question that I see, and that I ensure is included on every deal memo that I read or send out, is why now? That's a really important question. And right now, with mental health is something that's really, really important. It's on the forefront of a lot of people. So in terms of, now is the time to make this happen, because I mean, this is, so you've got that why now thing just nailed down. So yeah, make sure you leverage that. Otherwise, it's an opportunity missed. But timing is really important, and you have it on your side.
That's great feedback. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And it looks like you have some great helpers there. There's a cat that's eager to help. Keeps making an appearance. There you go. There you go. Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Dominique, are you ready to go?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, it's all yours.
Okay, BBLs, tummy tucks, or Brazilian butt lifts rather, tummy tucks, breast augmentation. What does all that have in common? In 2020,
I think we lost you.
We lost you. Everybody else is still moving, so I think it's only Dominique that's stuck. And I think Rita said that she wanted to go after Dominique. So if we don't get Dominique back,
I'm here. I just froze for some reason.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and start again.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, Brazilian butt lifts, tummy tucks, and breast augmentations. You say, what does that have to do with pitching? But let me tell you, in 2021, plastic surgery has increased by 54%. And of those patients getting Brazilian butt lifts specifically have increased by 90.3% within the past few years. It is estimated that 46% of those patients having Brazilian butt lifts have a blood volume level of less than 11, which is very critical. If you're having that surgery, that is something that would not be great, because then you can have complications. Patients are not able to, sorry, I'm like trying to read this at the same time. All right, sorry guys. So patients who are having cosmetic surgery have to have a level of hemoglobin that is acceptable for the surgeon, and that's their blood volume. These patients have been identified by the surgeon or by myself as a nurse practitioner as having a blood volume less than where it should be. And because of that, they're not able to have their surgery despite them taking large amounts of iron or vitamins. And even when they're taking them, they're not getting where they need to be cleared for surgery in a sense. The solution to that is Hemostat Vitamins. It was a formula created by me. I'm a nurse practitioner, and it has been shown to increase hemoglobin, or your blood volume, within 3 to 7 days of starting therapy. It is taken daily, not in addition to any other supplements. Did I lose everybody again?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, sorry. The target audience for Hemostat is women who are prepping for cosmetic surgery, women in the ages of 18 to 54, and patients of my practice, NP on demand, because I directly clear patients in 9 different states for surgery in Florida. So my patients that I order labs on, I actually know whose hemoglobin is low, and I actually offer them my vitamins to increase their levels. And then I retest them at the end to make sure that their levels have gone up enough to satisfy the surgeon so they're able to have surgery. For us to be more successful, in a sense, just for Hemostat to be more successful, we need to do more targeted ads. And currently, the targeted ads that I do, it's called micro marketing to me, because I started my businesses by doing marketing in Facebook groups. Facebook has the largest number of surgery groups, pretty much of all social platforms. I have a group on Facebook, MP On Demand, that has 4.8K people in it. The surgery groups that I advertise in have up to 4 women in that age group. So I pay those groups small amounts of money to advertise directly to their members. And I call that micro marketing. I've been able to grow MP On Demand from a company that had 0 revenue on day 1 to over $250,000 in the last 14 months. Hemostat has had several patients be successful with it as well. And we've sold about 60 to 70 bottles, and we have patients that are currently on subscription with our vitamins. Our biggest market base would be, in addition to that, the patients that are having surgery, because they reach out to me directly to be cleared for their surgery in 9 different states. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Got a lot of work to do, but that's my rough cuts. And I have the actual vitamins here. If you guys want to see them, I don't know if you can see them, but they are here. And they are live and they work. I just gotta
Wow.
get a little bit of feedback. That's a lot. I know, Tim. You can only eat elephant one piece at a time.
Thank you for doing this. I mean, it just takes everyone a ton of courage to do it. So thank you for that. And there's a lot of information that was talked about, just for so you know, it was 3 minutes and 24 seconds. So now you know that everything has to be tightened up. But it's like, now if you have everything written down, then I would go back to those basic questions that we talked about. What's the problem? What's the solution? Who is the market? And I would start putting all of those different pieces that you had talked about during that soundtrack into those particular buckets. And then you can start, like, if you go, we're going to send everyone the replay to this recording. And so if you did that and literally just transcribe what you did into a Word document or something like that, voice to text into whatever document. And then if you start putting everything into those 3 different buckets, and then just eliminate all the duplicity that was said more than once, that's going to shave you all the time that you need to really focus on everything. But then organize all those thoughts into a really succinct and flowing story in a way that people can follow. So, like, questions that I would have would be, if I was a judge, would be, what happens when someone doesn't take this and their iron levels are not right? What implications are in place there? Do you need FDA approval or anything like that in order to market? So, like, those are things that, you know, as just to make sure, again, addressing those questions before they're asked, so that that your pitch just continues to go smoother.
So I do have the answer to that. If you want to know the answer, when you create vitamins, you work with a vitamin company, and you make sure that vitamin company does not have FDA sanctions. So that's what I did. I worked with Makers Nutrition in New York, and I researched them first. And all the vitamin ingredients are ingredients that are American made, and you're not allowed to like get vitamin ingredients from China. They're all American. They have to go through a factory, and the factory itself is FDA approved or certified. The vitamins are not, and they have to have certain wording on them. And that is why I collaborated with the vitamin company to create my vitamins. And from there, the labeling, the wording, and we had a process. We had meetings to make sure that this product was put out correctly and not questioned like the pink sauce on TikTok.
Gotcha. Gary, did you have anything you wanted to address?
No, I thought that was well done, and I thought your feedback was great. I was just identifying that we have 3 more folks that want to do this. I just put it in the everyone list. So
Thank you guys. for the feedback.
yeah, thanks, Dominique. Okay, Rita, you're next, and then Nicole, and oh, sorry, the unstoppable Nicole, and then Hazel.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Perfect. Hopefully you can see my slides and my screen.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the problem. Picture this. You had a long, hard day at work, and the last thing you want to do is come home to a house filled with chaos. And it's chaotic because you told your kids to get their chores done, but instead you find them on their cell phones. And now you have to argue and fight with them, and it causes even more stress, and you may even turn into mommy dearest. Well, this is such a huge problem that ABC News and other news outlets have done many stories on this. But this is not just a problem in America. This is a worldwide issue to where countries are sending their children to phone detox boot camp. So I hear you asking, is there a solution for this problem? You bet there is. Now, I've taken my engineering background of over 25 years, my experience as a parent, military veteran, and I listen to the parents complain about their kids being on their cell phones to solve this old age problem using new technology. Now, I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Naggy. Naggy is a revolutionary chore and task app that has a special feature to shut down the child's phone if the chore is not completed. That means no talk, no text, no getting on the internet. The only thing the child is able to do is contact their parent, and their parent have the ability to unlock the phone once the chore is complete. Now, Naggy is disrupting the app space. It will save parents time, reduce stress, keep them from fighting and debating, give them back the control and leverage to keep the peace in their homes, and it promotes quality family time. Now, we've done our research. Our customers are women and parents that have kids ages 7 to 17. Now, women drive 80% of all the consumer purchasing, which is in the trillions, you guys. And that makes good for our revenue model because we're going to offer Naggy for 14 days free. Then the user will be charged $9.99 a month or $119 annually. And we also have other ways to monetize our app through our upgrades and our in-app purchases. Now, we figure we're going to make the first year about $12 million. So I'm going to introduce you to our wonderful team. That's myself, the founder, Amanda Vinot, my mentor, Rajesh Kumar, who's the developer, and Cynthia Shields, our marketer. Now I'm going to leave you guys with this. With Naggy app, this could be your home. You see how clean that home is now. And these could be your kids. They're washing them dishes now because they don't want that phone to shut down. And this could be your family. Instead of the fighting and the fussing, you guys can have your peace in your homes and start getting those happy memories. Thank you all so much.
That was amazing.
I think that you must have watched Pitch Perfect before. This can't
That's
be
right. That was great.
How do I stop sharing? I'm sorry, guys. Oh, there it is.
There, unshare, yeah.
Am I back? Okay, perfect.
You are.
Yeah, I had a pitch deck before, but what I did, I felt it was just wise before I start here. I listened to Gary and you guys on other ones, and I just, because my actual pitch deck was 6 minutes. So I was like, how did they expect me to do this in 3 minutes? But it was possible. Once I listened to you guys' suggestion, I just did it exactly the way that you guys, I mean, I don't know if you guys think I should put something else or take something out.
Well, you did have 7 seconds to spare. So.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So I would like to know whatever you guys think I should do better, or I was a little nervous, but I think the fact that I came in under time, I didn't waste a lot of time, but some of my transitions I was disappointed with, but go ahead.
I mean, from a performance perspective, I thought the slides were fine. You might only, as far as slide construction, I would maybe only show us the things that we can see quickly if we have to, if you have small text and things that we have to read and then it goes away, we kind of get taken out of the moment because we couldn't read all of it, and then you only mentioned one thing on it, and so that might be something to take a look at. But no, I thought the energy was great. I thought the transitions were great. You know, you posing the question of what's coming next as the transition was great. It felt very conversational. It didn't feel like I'm being forced to do this presentation that I'm terrified to do. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, so, and I joked a little bit, and you know, you verified though what my suspicions were, in the sense of you have watched Pitch Perfect before. So to those that are still with us today, you can see the difference. That is, those who have and those who have not prepared. It makes all the difference in the world. So, because I was going through, typically what I'll do when I have the timer in front of me at Pitch Perfect, like when I'll take a note of what the time was during the problem. I'll take a note of when you started talking about the solution, when you started talking about the market, and you were hitting like everything like almost spot on compare with the timing aspect of how we broke everything down. So that's how I knew. I was like, this is the first time out of the gate with this one. I mean, the times were way too spot on to unless, I mean, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes, but yeah, you did really, really well.
Thank you.
Cool. Can we move on to the next pitcher? The next person is the Unstoppable Nicole. Are you ready, Unstoppable Nicole?
I am ready. I am
Okay,
ready.
and so it'll be Nicole, and then it will be Hazel, and then it will be Tajir. Okay, just so you all know. We're ready for you whenever.
So according to 2021 Census Bureau, about 11 million single parent family homes with the ages of children under the age of 18, 80% were headed by single mothers. Heart disease today is the leading cause in every 1 in 5 female deaths. So that's over 300,000 female deaths in 2019 was related to heart disease, which is preventable. Unstoppable Nicole LLC creates an environment to teach moms about work-life balance. 80% of the single parent families headed by the by the single mothers have increased cholesterol, obesity, increased stress, and all of those are preventable. So we come in and we teach manage work-life skills. But not only do we teach it to the women, the mothers, we also teach it to the employees. We teach them how to better support these women, train them and give them the processes, and also, sorry, y'all. Okay. And also that helps decrease stress on the moms, decrease them from having anxiety, decrease work burnout. But then in turn, the companies get their employees to increase retention, increase productivity, and in a safe work environment. All right, I want to go. Unstoppable Nicole LLC has over 20 years experience of working with companies and being a single mother of 3 children myself, and also owning a business and being a registered nurse. Have created the tools for each individualized company. So we target companies who have W-2 employees. So it doesn't matter if the company has either 3 or 3,000 employees. We have systems for each company. I know I have time left. and we do these things by having apps, and then we also do hybrid programs, which we would come and train in person, or we're trained via internet. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's 238. So again, you got time to work with. So good there. And I think that gosh, you got a lot of the things that needed to be said. Now it's just a matter of the practice part to make everything flow.
Right.
I think it's just the biggest thing that I see.
Yep. I saw that too, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Yep. And this is great. I mean, this is, I think this is a record number of people that have tried their pitch at Pitch Perfect. And this is fantastic. And everyone learns from one another because the different feedback that everybody gets, because no two pitches are going to be the same. So you hear an array of different feedback that you all can take and apply to your own individual pitches. So that's the slides that we did at the very beginning were all fine and well, but to me, this aspect of this part of the night is the most important and what you take away from more than anything else.
Yep. So you got to watch Rita do hers. And so that was a really good textbook example of how the stuff could flow. So,
yes,
and then
I like Rita's. I was like, oh, I was like, that is it.
yeah. And I think this is being recorded, so this will be posted. So you guys can go back and watch Rita's performance and say, oh, I see what she did there. And here's where I see what I need to tighten up here. So that would be a great example to use that kind of a structure to do that.
But Rita wove the technical parts and the storytelling so well with the pitch, because it's not about what products that we have. It's literally getting the person engaged in it and bought. And she pretty much could have, she don't even probably have the app ready, but I'm ready to, she got me ready to invest.
Yeah.
Like, have type of information about it.
And so that it goes back to make them want more. And so that was another thing that she did really well.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep. So next is Hazel, I think.
Okay, so I was quite devastated after my last pitch, so I've completely rewritten it tonight.
But that's what it takes. I mean, it's a continuous evolution. So get used
I was
to
beating myself up, and my husband said, "No, go do it again." So here I am. So it's going to be completely different, and like I said, he did earlier, I just wrote it tonight, so I'm gonna wing it. Okay. I overcame agoraphobia with a deaf chihuahua named Hooch. My original business, Hazel's Handiwork, the maker of the doggone bag, hands-free pet carrier, was a vendor and a shop that moved on, that led me to open that art store. Many people are looking for locally handmade products, and artisans are looking for a place to sell them. People are also looking for affordable, fun activities. So we offer local artisans a place to sell their products, as well as share their knowledge in crafts ranging from painting to sewing. I'm Hazel Smith, survivor of agoraphobia and founder of That Art Store, a collection of local artisans. We capture the attention of young families and tourists and others with a bubble machine. Every day I hear customers say, "What a lovely store, cute and unique," and they love the selection. I look to have anyone walk in and find at least one thing in my shop. I also hear them say, "I need to tell my mother, my aunt, my mother-in-law," so word gets out. Several have stated that we will be their go-to on their next visit or vacation. So if you need to find That Art Store in Old Town Portsmouth, you only need to follow the bubbles to That Art Store. I know I have plenty of time left,
Yep,
but I ran out of paper.
Yep. That was 140.
Much better than I did. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that like one of the things I would, if I were you, I would start to think of like, who is that ideal customer? Who is, if you, so like this is, if you were to think about a magazine wanted to write an article about your store, about an artist that was at your store, what would that dream article say? You know, how would they document that person's journey? And then so like I would tell that story from that perspective, in the sense of, I would like to introduce you to Hazel. Hazel was an artist through and through, but the thing that she didn't have a place to practice her art. And then, you know, and then you talk about the different things that they have at the store, and like just the community that is there. And the thing that she loved was the bubble machine. And then you can bring everything back, and you're like, guess what? I'm Hazel. I'm the one that did this. And now I'm doing the same thing for countless, you know, for 200 people.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have that story aspect. And then, you know, now people are like, oh, wow, that's awesome. You make them want more. And then it just takes a life of its own.
I did have it jotted down, but I missed it because we're located across from the Children's Museum. That's why the bubbles came into play. But it attracts everybody.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yep, good. I missed the first part because I'm plugged into I'm at somebody else's house, and I'm plugged into their power strip, and I see that I have I'm on fumes of electricity, so I had to figure out how to stay on, how to get cut off. So I missed the first part.
So you have
sorry.
to go back later and watch it, right?
And I will do that. I will do that. Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Tajir, before you go, is Rita still on? Yes, Rita. Are you there, Rita?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes,
Can you? One of your slides, I think, has an idiom use error, and can you put your deck back up real quick?
The old age.
It's age old.
It's age old. I looked that up on Google, and I kept seeing both ways. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an age old problem. And you say it was an old age problem, and because I'm over 65, I got offended.
I apologize. But thank
and
you
I was going to need some of Aunt Carol sauce because I was feeling so bad. All right, so you fixed that. You got that. I just wanted to tell you that before we got off the call, and I didn't say that. So
well, if I'm looking forward to, we're going to end on a strong note, I have a feeling, because you did really well at the micro pitch.
Thanks to y'all. Thank y'all.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
So I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I have 2 questions for 2 slides that I want your feedback on, and anyone's feedback, really. So this slide in particular, this slide has a lot of information, and I'm trying to figure a way how to actually break this out, because I spoke about some stuff that I should have, I think. And one of the things is that we're in Virginia Tech's dining hall. So they actually buy gallon jugs. And when they buy these gallons, we have a scholarship for first-time generational students, where we donate $5 per gallon to this scholarship. So I don't know how much important that is, but that's one of the pieces of our community, how we give back to the community is one of those pieces. There's a couple of other pieces that I do as well, but I just try to focus on the sauce. But I just said in this slide was that we're incorporating to the Virginia Tech dining hall, but y'all probably didn't even hear that part. So that was one of my questions about, should I really emphasize that piece?
Gosh, yeah.
Could that be mentioned in as a side note to the revenue stream?
Yeah, it could. It could.
You could just slip it in.
Because I said it here because I'm talking about locations, bottles sold.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I don't have a lot of time because last time I was right.
Yeah, and I think that you can sum everything up in the sense of you can do. I mean, you can capture one sentence. We also have a philanthropic point of view that likes to give back, where we give $5. We give for every gallon sold, $5 goes to a scholarship fund or something like that.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
My last question is, I show the growth here. Is that even important for what I'm going for right now? Like, is this something that you think the judges really want to? Because I'm talking about locations. So, because this took a lot of time. Like, I probably took like 20 seconds or so that I could have spoke for.
I guess I would just transition with your words, so you don't have to wait for. That's again one of those areas where you know what slides are coming next, so you can just click, click, click. I mean, that can be as fast as like a 2-second thing.
Okay.
And we're something as easy as, and we're on track to grow exponentially. Click, click, click.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank y'all so much. That really helps a lot.
But for those that don't, that didn't see, that website that he was using to build the slides is pitch.com. It's a great site. You're the only other person I ever saw use it. That's what I use. I mean, it's just so easy, and the templates they have,
They're amazing, and it's free.
Can we use our brand colors on there, like the colors that for our brand today? Like,
you can.
Colors for
I mean, you can customize it for anything.
So
yeah, you can set your brand, you can put your style guide in there so that when you create slides, it's already stylized based on your hex codes and everything. I mean, it's a great site.
I'm gonna put it in the chat for you as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Is it used for creating a pitch deck?
I mean,
they have templates for everything.
Proposals, invoices.
I haven't used PowerPoint. The deck that we used tonight was PowerPoint only because I just haven't transferred it over. But in terms of like any new deck that I've had to create, I have only used pitch.com.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay.
I actually use Canva.
And that's another popular one as well. It just pitch.com, they're just, it's a German company. They're a startup that they're like, we want to take on every single slide creating platform. That's our competition. And it just, the collaboration aspect, if you have teams, I mean, it's just, you can assign people tasks. It's solid product.
Is there a resource on the website for the labeling of the slides? Because I think that's part of the issue of transition, is that you don't know what comes next, in a sense. Even when you are, like, for me, I'm not shy. I can sell word to a well normally if I have like a subject matter in my mind. I haven't had to sell my vitamins to anybody outside of my patients. So, and they know, because I have a white coat on, that they trust me, that I'm telling them that's just for here, but they know that they can trust me for that reason. But I think my issue is coming in, trying to transition from one place to another without pausing, in a sense, and trying to, fill in the space with something that's unnecessary.
This is an old school solution that I use. Is like, I have a gig tomorrow, and even though I have it on my computer, I still have it printed out 4 slides to a page, so that I know that if something happens, I can still go off of my notes. And then I know what's coming. Does that help?
And pitch.com, it didn't help me at all because you can't see the next slide. When you
right. Yeah. And PowerPoint, it doesn't work that way on these kinds of, on the Zoom thing. Yeah. Yep. So I would just print it out, and then you have it there, and you know what's coming. You can see it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Andrew's here. Andrew, did you want to pitch now?
No, not this time, Gary. Not this time.
Oh, not this time. Okay. All right. Cool. Is everybody good then?
Thank y'all so much.
I want to thank y'all so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And if you have questions, we do this by design. We try to do it 2 weeks before the actual pitch competition, so that you all have a chance to work on this. It gives you enough time. So we're not doing it like the night before. It's so you have a time to work on this. So we've had people send us recordings. We've had people send us video clips. We've had people, you name it. We received a version of their pitch. And as we gave you 2 weeks before the pitch competition. Give us a little bit of time to review something, and we'll be happy to provide you with some feedback. But just, I mean, we're here because we love it. So we have jobs that we do as well. So we'll provide feedback, but just make sure you give us a little bit of time so that we can get through our day-to-day grind to put the time needed to give you positive feedback. But as you progress, like some things that you can do, use that voice to text, and then like when you're like a couple days beforehand, use that voice to text, and then print that out, take a highlighter and start highlighting all those filler words. You see whatever, and you start highlighting all those words, and then you can continue to tighten up that script even more, and then just get more and more comfortable with it. I mean, these are all little tricks that you can do. We don't want to get there tonight because this is night 1, but it's a continuous evolution process.
Thank you so much, because even I'm a retired police officer, and standing in front of a judge, I did the ums and you knows.
Oh yeah.
So
and you don't realize how often you do it until you go through the pain to watch or read, or once you do have it voice to text dictation, and then have it talk out loud back to you, and then you listen to it from that point of view, and you're just like, oh my word, what is happening? But awesome.
Can I ask a quick question? It's Rick. Can I ask a quick question, please?
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking about one thing, and I definitely understand the whole purpose of don't tell your name or company name or whatever until the audience is ready for it. But what I'm struggling with here is, you presented a problem, right? And you want to tell them your solution, and the solution hopefully is the business. But you're not telling them the name of the business. I guess that's where I lost. What I try to do in mine, and I realize the mistake which you pointed out, is I'm trying to say, okay, we're an agency that trains, candidates how to run a campaign, blah, blah, blah. And I figured at that point, I better say, oh, and I'm Rick, and the name of the business is True Rep. Where do you see that part coming in, or should I totally forget about it? Sell the business and forget the idea of the name.
I mean, in that 10-second intro, you can talk about, you have that very first sentence or whatever it is that you want to state, but then that second sentence, you can quickly state that, hey, and this is True Rep, and we're here to revolutionize the political system, whatever your little tagline is. So then you can kind of throw that teaser out to get people in that mindset, knowing what your business does. So then you have the opening with the teaser, go into the problem, the solution, and then you can say, then you reiterate it again with your name during that intro
Make
part.
sure that it's not True Republican. Sorry, I'm joking. But yeah, so you're saying it wouldn't be bad to throw that name out at the beginning of when I'm saying, this is the plan, this is what we're building here, and it's called True Rep. I mean, hopefully the big thing is, and I should definitely stipulate that it's all about true representation, this True Rep thing.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to figure where I put it in. Do I introduce the idea and then say what it's called, or do I start it with the solution to this whole thing? And like you said, True Rep is going to revolutionize campaigning by teaching candidates how to run true representation campaigns. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just make sure that you avoid the trap of don't go into the problem too long, and then say that one, say the little teaser, and then go back into the problem again. I would stick it to one sentence. America is like, and I'm not saying this is your sentence, but America is fed up with the current political system, and True Rep is here to revolutionize whatever, whatever your tagline is. And then the problem with the problem with politics today, or whatever the case is, then you can get into that. But you just need to word shop everything through. I think you might be getting a little wrapped around the axle, and
Oh, I am. That's my, see, one of the problems is there is no problem if you're going to run as a Republican or Democrat. There is no problems, and they do everything. People will come in, they have groups, tech for campaigns will come in and build you a website for free. They'll coach you. They'll even give you millions of dollars if you're in the right district and that sort of thing. And I guess what I'm having a hard time, I wish I could totally leave out that problem and just say, we're working with new candidates that don't know what they're doing.
well, I would just say that the problem
But the
is,
real problem is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I just think that's probably the higher level problem, is that candidates, any new candidate that's not part of the process doesn't know how to run a proper campaign, and True Rep is here to fix that.
All right, I'm getting it figured out. I mean, see, I noticed that, and maybe some of the questions I got last year it was like, well, what do you mean? Why would somebody have that problem? And they're absolutely right. If you run as a Democrat or a Republican, you don't have that problem. Trouble is, if you run against big money and true representation, one, you're not a party loyalist, and somebody else is going to beat you in the primary. I've seen lots of those candidates. Or you're left in the dark. And so I guess I'm struggling with, it takes a while for me anyhow, to convince somebody of that problem, to understand that, now I get it. Now I know, it isn't just they're picking up new candidates, because that isn't where the problem I'm solving is anyhow.
Well, you're wearing it. Did you wear a purple shirt on by design?
Actually, this is the Make Voters Matter. That's what I've been running for 5 years. I gotta switch it around, but yeah, my nonprofit was Make Voters Matter, which I should have had your guys' help, because I totally misnamed it. Everybody thinks I'm talking about elections and voting, and it has everything to do with we the people don't matter, because studies have proven it doesn't matter who you elect.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's the sad part. Yeah, I'm getting on my soapbox.
Well, that's the thing that makes it tough. But yeah, you'll be able to work through it.
Alrighty. Thanks for pointing that thing out. I'll clarify it. Alrighty.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. This was a great session tonight.
Appreciate the help. Thank you, Tim and Gary. Hope you have a good night.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who was brave and pitched. Awesome.
Looking forward to see you all
Thank you so much.
on the 12th.
Yep,
Gary,
our pleasure.
You didn't tell us your technique of how you get people to pitch.
Well, it's a secret. It's trademarked.
Okay.
I planted the seed early, and look how many people responded. It's the power of suggestion.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Take care. See you guys.
Thank you. This was really good. Thank you.